After 60, this itchy spot on your body indicates that your lifespan is not long. Have you ever felt an itch that just won't go away, no matter how much you scratch? It's easy to dismiss as dry skin or a simple irritation, but what if that persistent itch was your body's way of whispering a warning, a signal that something deeper is wrong, something that could affect your health, your mobility, even your longevity? The truth is, not all itches are innocent. Some can reveal underlying conditions like poor circulation, nerve damage, liver dysfunction, or even blood sugar imbalances. And the scariest part? Many people ignore these warning signs until it's too late. That's why today we're diving into 5 specific itchy spots that could be early red flags for serious health risks, especially after 60. Some of these may surprise you. Others may already sound familiar, but one thing is certain. The last itchy spot we'll discuss is the most commonly ignored, and it could be the most dangerous of them all. So if you want to protect your health and stay independent longer, watch closely, because the clues your body gives you today could save you from bigger problems tomorrow. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our health updates. If you find this video helpful, type 1 in the comments. If you don't, type 0 so I can continue improving our content for you. Now, let's get started. Itchy spot 1, the lower legs. Hippocrates once said, if there is a deficiency in circulation, disease follows. In the past, before modern medicine, healers knew that blood flow was the essence of life, and when it slowed, the body suffered. But today, with our sedentary lifestyles, processed foods, and reliance on medication over prevention, many ignore the warnings their bodies give until it's too late. I once knew a man named Walter. He was 76, a retired mechanic who had spent decades on his feet, working on cars, lifting tools, moving without thought. Retirement had slowed him down. He sat more, watched more television, and moved only when necessary. Then came the itch. It started as a mild irritation on his lower legs, mostly at night. He assumed it was dry skin, a nuisance. His wife brought him lotion, but it never helped. Weeks turned into months, and the itch became more than an annoyance. He noticed his legs felt heavier than before, a dull ache settling in by the end of the day. One morning, as he pulled on his socks, he saw something strange. His skin looked thinner, almost fragile, and there was a faint discoloration around his ankles. Then came the moment that truly unsettled him. He pressed his finger into his shin just out of curiosity, and when he removed it, the indentation remained far too long before slowly fading. Something wasn't right. Reluctantly, Walter went to the doctor. Tests revealed peripheral artery disease, PAD, a condition where plaque buildup narrows the arteries, restricting blood flow to the legs. His doctor explained that when circulation weakens, oxygen and nutrients struggle to reach the lower limbs, leading to dryness, nerve irritation, and in more serious cases, ulcers and infections that could result in amputation. Walter was stunned. He thought heart disease was something that caused chest pain and shortness of breath. He never imagined it could start as an itch. The doctor laid it out clearly. If Walter didn't take action, things would get worse. He could develop blood clots, deep vein thrombosis, or even a stroke. He needed to move more, eat better, and get his circulation back on track before it was too late. That day, Walter made a decision. He started taking walks, just short ones at first. He cut back on processed foods and added more leafy greens, nuts, and fish to his meals. He stayed hydrated, stretched daily, and made a habit of checking his legs for changes. Within weeks, something happened. His itching faded, the heaviness in his legs lifted, and he no longer felt that lingering discomfort at night. It wasn't just about preventing a heart attack or stroke. It was about reclaiming his mobility, his independence. He had been given a warning, and he was lucky enough to listen before it became irreversible. How often do we ignore the small signs, brushing them off as nothing? Have you ever experienced a symptom that turned out to be more than you expected? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might help someone recognize a warning sign before it's too late. Itchy spot 2, the upper back. Hippocrates once said, when in sickness, look first to the spine. The ancients understood that the backbone was not just a structure, it was the pillar that held a person's strength, balance, and vitality. Yet today, many ignore its signals, dismissing discomfort as just another inconvenience of aging. But the body speaks, and sometimes It whispers its warnings before shouting in pain. I knew a man named Richard. He was 74, a retired carpenter, a man whose hands had built homes, fixed broken furniture, and carved beauty out of rough wood. His body had always been strong, his arms steady, his back reliable. But as the years passed, something changed. It started with a simple itch, a persistent, unreachable sensation just below his right shoulder blade. No matter how he twisted, scratched, or pressed against doorframes, the itch never truly disappeared. At first he thought little of it, maybe dry skin, maybe an old nerve acting up, but weeks turned into months and the sensation deepened. It wasn't just an itch anymore, it was a tingling, a strange numbness creeping across his upper back. His posture started shifting without him realizing it, as if his body was adjusting to something unseen. Then one morning, as he reached up to grab his coffee mug, he felt an unfamiliar weakness in his arm, a slow response that sent a chill through him. His wife insisted he see a doctor. The diagnosis was something he had never heard before: notalgia paresthetica. The doctor explained that years of bending over workbenches, lifting heavy tools, and straining his spine had caused nerve compression in his upper back. The shrinking of his spinal discs had put pressure on nerves, sending confused signals to his brain, making him feel an itch that wasn't really there. Left unchecked, this could lead to further degeneration, affecting his mobility, his strength, and even his balance. Richard sat in silence, absorbing the news. He had always thought that back problems meant pain, not an itch, but here he was, proof that small signs could be the first warnings of something deeper. The doctor prescribed physical therapy, posture corrections, and strength exercises to keep his spine supported. At first it felt strange. After a lifetime of movement, he now had to relearn how to sit, stand, and even stretch. But slowly, the sensation faded. The tingling eased, and for the first time in months, he felt like his body was his again. How often do we dismiss discomfort, telling ourselves it's nothing? How many times do we assume that small irritations aren't worth paying attention to? Have you ever ignored a symptom only to realize later it was something more? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might help someone recognize a warning sign before it's too late. Itchy spot 3. The palms. Hippocrates once said, "Everything in excess is opposed to nature." In ancient times, healers understood that the body could only take so much before it started sending signals of distress. But in today's world, where indulgence is celebrated and consequences are ignored, people forget that every choice we make, what we eat, what we drink, how we treat our bodies, has a price. I once knew a man named Raymond. He was 72, a retired truck driver who had spent most of his life on the road, eating whatever was fast and convenient: greasy burgers, soda, and processed snacks. He never thought twice about what he put into his body. After all, he felt fine. But then one day he noticed his palms itching. At first he dismissed it, rubbing lotion into them, assuming it was dry skin. But the itch kept coming back. Worse at night, worse when he ate heavy meals. He joked about it, calling it money hands, saying maybe he was about to get rich. But his wife wasn't laughing. She noticed other things. His skin looked dull, his energy was lower, and some mornings his eyes had a faint yellowish tint. Reluctantly, Raymond went to the doctor. Blood tests revealed the truth. His liver enzymes were elevated, and he was in the early stages of fatty liver disease. The doctor explained that years of eating poorly, drinking too much soda, and not paying attention to his health had caused fat to accumulate in his liver, preventing it from working properly. His body wasn't filtering toxins the way it should, and bile salts were building up in his bloodstream, causing the persistent itching in his hands. Raymond was stunned. He had never thought about his liver before. He figured liver disease was something that happened to heavy drinkers, not to someone like him. But his doctor explained that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease was on the rise, especially among older adults who had spent years consuming processed foods, sugars, and unhealthy fats. If he didn't make changes, things could get worse. His liver could become inflamed, leading to cirrhosis, even liver failure. That was his wake-up call. Raymond cut out sugary drinks and processed foods. He started eating more greens, lean proteins, and healthy fats. He took daily walks, lost weight, and paid attention to how his body felt after meals. And slowly, things changed. The itching faded, his energy returned, and his skin took on a healthier glow. But more than that, he realized something: the body never lies. It warns us, quietly at first, then louder, until we have no choice but to listen. How many of us ignore small symptoms thinking they're nothing? Have you ever had a sign from your body that you brushed off, only to realize later it was something serious? Share your experiences in the comments. Your story might help someone recognize their own warning sign before it's too late. Itchy spot 4, the scalp. Hippocrates once said, "All disease begins in the gut." The ancient Greeks understood that what we eat shapes our health, influencing everything from digestion to mental clarity. But today, with endless processed foods and sugar-laden diets, people don't realize how much their choices are silently damaging them, until their body starts whispering warnings like an itch that won't go away. I knew a woman named Margaret. She was 68, a retired school principal who had always taken care of herself. At least, that's what she believed. She never drank, never smoked, and always made sure to eat enough. But she had a sweet tooth. Every morning she added an extra spoonful of sugar to her coffee. Every afternoon, she indulged in a pastry with her tea. It was just a little habit, nothing extreme. At least, that's what she told herself. Then one day, she noticed her scalp itching. At first she thought it was the weather, maybe a reaction to her shampoo. She switched brands, tried scalp treatments, and even rinsed her hair with vinegar like her mother used to do. Nothing helped. The itch was deep, almost like it was coming from inside. Over time, she noticed other things. She felt thirstier than usual, more tired in the afternoons, and her vision seemed blurry some mornings. But she chalked it up to age. It wasn't until her grandson's birthday party that she realized something was really wrong. She had barely finished her slice of cake when a wave of exhaustion hit her. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her glass of water. That night, as she lay in bed scratching her scalp, she finally admitted to herself, this wasn't normal. The next morning, she went to her doctor. Blood tests confirmed it. Her blood sugar levels were higher than they should be. She was pre-diabetic. The doctor explained that high blood sugar can cause systemic inflammation, affecting nerves, circulation, and even the skin barrier. In some people, this irritation shows up in unexpected places, like an itchy, dry scalp. Left unchecked, it could develop into full-blown type 2 diabetes, increasing her risk of heart disease, nerve damage, and even blindness. Margaret was shaken. She had always thought diabetes was something that happened to other people who ate fast food every day or drank soda. But here she was, proof that small habits add up over time. She made changes, cutting back on sugar, eating more fiber-rich foods, walking after meals. It wasn't easy, but within weeks she noticed the difference. Her energy returned, her scalp stopped itching, and most importantly, her blood sugar stabilized before it was too late. How many of us ignore the subtle signs our body gives us? Have you ever overlooked a symptom, thinking it was nothing, only to realize later it was a warning? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone else catch a problem before it's too late. Itchy spot 5. The soles of your feet. Hippocrates once said, walking is man's best medicine. The feet are our foundation, the part of the body that carries us through life, yet they are often the first to show signs of trouble. When they itch, tingle, or burn, it's easy to brush it off as nothing. But in many cases, this is the body whispering a warning, one that should not be ignored. I knew a man named Thomas. He was 78, a retired mail carrier who had spent decades walking miles each day delivering letters through every kind of weather. He had always taken pride in his strong legs and steady stride, but after retirement things changed. His daily walks turned into occasional strolls, and then, as the years passed, he moved less and less. One evening he noticed an odd sensation. The soles of his feet itched relentlessly. He assumed it was dry skin, so he slathered on lotion, but the itch persisted. Then came the tingling, a creeping numbness that felt like his feet were wrapped in invisible socks. At night, the burning sensation kept him awake, making him shift and rub his feet against the sheets, desperate for relief. At first he ignored it. What harm could a little itching do? But then, one morning, he stepped onto the cold bathroom tile and felt nothing. The sensation had dulled, like his feet were no longer fully his. Later that day, as he walked to the mailbox, he stumbled, catching himself just in time. That's when he realized this wasn't just an itch. Something was wrong. His daughter convinced him to see a doctor. The diagnosis? peripheral neuropathy likely caused by years of poorly managed blood sugar and reduced circulation. The doctor explained that the nerves in his feet were deteriorating. When blood sugar is high for long periods, it damages the tiny blood vessels that keep nerves healthy. Over time, the nerves stop functioning properly, sending false signals to the brain, hence the constant itching and burning. Left untreated, this could lead to complete numbness, making injuries and infections go unnoticed, increasing the risk of ulcers and, in severe cases, amputation. Thomas was stunned. He had always thought diabetes was something that happened to other people, not him. He had never been diagnosed, never thought much about his sugar intake. But years of small, unnoticed changes, less movement, more processed foods, skipping meals, had added up. His body had been warning him, and he had nearly ignored it. Determined to fight back, he made changes. He cut back on refined sugars and started walking again, even if his feet felt heavy at first. He focused on foods that promoted circulation, like leafy greens, fatty fish, and nuts. He learned simple exercises to stimulate blood flow and took his medication seriously. It wasn't easy, but within months, the symptoms improved. The itchiness faded, the burning lessened, and most importantly, his balance returned. The lesson was clear: the body always speaks first, in whispers. If we ignore those whispers, they turn into shouts. How often have we dismissed discomfort, telling ourselves it's nothing? Have you ever ignored a small symptom, only to realize later it was something more? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone recognize their own warning sign before it's too late. Now that you know the 5 specific itchy spots that could indicate potential health risks, the most important thing you can do is listen to your body. Itchy skin may seem harmless, but when it happens in persistent, unexplained patterns, it could be your body's way of sending an urgent message. Our bodies are always speaking to us, we just have to be willing to listen. Catching these signs early can make all the difference in protecting your health, independence, and quality of life. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Small changes today can lead to a stronger, healthier tomorrow. Have you ever had an itch that wouldn't go away? Have you experienced a symptom that turned out to be more important than you first thought? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might just help someone else recognize a warning sign before it's too late. If you found this video helpful, take a moment to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating content that keeps you informed and healthy. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.